Can you see everything?
We can. It's perfect. Thank you.
Great. Okay. As she said, I'm Harley Neff. I work with Right Pack Credit Union here on our networking team. When I was approached with this, I was, pretty eager to come out and talk to everybody about this because actually the education piece of it is a big part of why I am where I am today. So, when they sent this over, I got a few talking points, and basically, you guys have probably heard these in one method or another from everybody you've heard from so far. But, I kind of wanted to break it down piece by piece into these slides that we can talk through. So, I sort of looked at what was being asked and tried to apply that practically to, things that could help both in, providing resources to students and what they may need, or, if you are a student, what can you really expect? Because sometimes, there's a disconnect and you don't know and you're trying to learn something, and this is a great chance to cover some of those topics and to pick my brain, if any questions come up during this at the end. So let's start off here with, what it is that I actually do and why it's important. And I did want to go ahead and say ahead of time that, this is a subjective version just based off my own experiences. And it's important to keep in mind that all of this can vary greatly depending on where you are, and sometimes you might not always get the network engineering title. You may also get, network support or system administrator. It just kind of depends on the specifics of the company. So if we take that and then we break down what is it that I actually do in my role, I do networking. That is, one of the largest parts of this. And, that in general is just, connecting individual systems to larger communication networks. So, your individual computers, I don't do so much of that anymore. More so than making sure that everything's talking and the roads are there for you to drive on. So, that may be the biggest part, but, apart from networking, I also do data management. So that is our file servers, all the documents and things you may be storing away. I've got to manage, the systems that store that and making sure we have enough, and finding space savings wherever possible. I also do server maintenance. So, it's not all just connecting things. Sometimes there are systems that your applications are running on. Maybe you have an email server, or you have the database servers. I know we were just talking to one of the DBAs here previously, where the DBA may be managing the database side of it. From my end, I'm managing the server that lays on. So I have to make sure that it's up and available and is, easy to use for them, so that when they're troubleshooting, they don't have to worry about something, underlying that. And then on top of the maintenance, it also comes into implementation, which is the other side of that coin there, where, maybe there's a project for, we're switching from, your older Exchange to 365, and we got to figure out how to do that and put it in place. So you can see it's kind of a pretty broad scope there. And what I do is in-house networking versus you can have some companies that may provide this as an outside resource. And those are generally called like MSPs, and people, they provide you a service. Something to think about when it comes to those two areas. In-house, generally you become more of a jack of all trades, versus MSP, you may be more specialized. That's not saying that you won't be an expert in some things on in-house still, but generally companies like having outside resources that they keep, they pay for support contracts, because there's no way a company is going to hire an expert for, every application they have. They need somebody that can fix the majority of their problems, and then a lifeline to reach out to when it comes to those hyper specific issues or new applications that are going in. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that, and then there's a large difference on where you're going depending on how large the company is. The smaller it is, the more of those jack of all trades aspects you're going to have to fulfill, because there won't be as many people to do everything. Versus if you go bigger, generally it becomes more siloed, and you may be able to focus better at a larger company if you're trying to get into a specific realm. And then we want to take a look here at a day in the life of what it is that I really do. I tried to break this down so you can kind of understand from a high level, and see if this is the interest, and kind of let people really know what they're going to be expecting if they pursue this type of role. So, when I get up on a work day in the morning, one of the first things that I do is check in on our alerting systems and see, is something down? Can I go into the office today, or is there a center that we have that is down, and we need somebody to go fix it before other people show up? So that's, every day when you check these things, you have to be aware of the critical systems that you're responsible for. So apart from that, some of the other types of work I do is project work. I sort of define this here as, these are jobs that have long-term goals and continual progress checks, and you'll chip away at them, making sure that things come up and online and they're ready for the new systems that you're putting in. So that can be fun. You're always learning something new when it comes to the project work. And then there's other types like the maintenance work, which is, we might have 100 switches or routers, and we need to make sure those get updated regularly for security reasons, or maybe there is a functionality that we are interested in the new version. So either way, you're going to have all of these systems that you put in place, and the existing systems will always need maintenance. This is the real work that keeps things up and running, and a lot of times it is more preventative. And then apart from that, there's also support work, which might be some things you might be more expecting when you think of this type of thing. When people call in and say, "Hey, our network's down," that's when you go in and you start looking around and finding out. These are typically more critical, more on the spot. So you might have your day planned out, and then somebody calls in and they say, "Oh yeah, this piece of hardware crashed," or they might just be very vague about it. You just sort of have to start asking those types of questions, being like, okay, well, what actually isn't working? Oh, well, our internet's not working. Okay. Well, can you get out to the internet? Is it just email and you find out, oh, it's just the email's not working? A lot of that stuff might come from more of a help desk level. They might be the first responders to that, but then they will reach out to us, and we will start having to look more on that, the email side of things on the servers, and find out what is it that's actually happening here, and we can get it fixed. So those are, three of the major types of work that I would say that I do regularly. And then as far as, being on call, we do have on call. Like I said, we are responsible for a lot of critical systems and infrastructure. We want to make sure that, a bridge doesn't go out in the middle of the night and nobody starts working on it until the next morning. So, we do have some of that. But generally, I would say it is a lot of self-directed work while adhering to time-specific needs. So, you can plan out your day as best as you can, depending on what project you have to do, or there's some maintenance. It might not be the same as somebody on, say, like a help desk where somebody can't work and they need you to fix it right now. It's hey, this needs to be done this quarter type of work. So you get to plan out a lot ahead of time, which, can be appealing to some people. But you have to keep in mind that there are some things that will pop up that will be time sensitive that you have to adjust your schedule for. So as far as the meetings and collaborative work, I would say that the meetings are heavily dependent on what projects you're doing. There are times in, say, a work year where you might have 2 or 3 projects going on. And there could be others, say, we got holidays coming up soon and we don't like to do a lot near the holidays. Want to keep things up in status quo. So a lot of the times you're trying to wrap up some of those project works as you get closer to the holidays. So there's some variability in that. So I would say, I've got sometimes like 2/3 of my days can be full of meetings, and others could be, completely empty. And the times when it is empty those are the best days, I would say, to plan the work that doesn't have a specific time it needs done, but needs to be done within a span of time. There is collaborative work in what I do. Like I was kind of alluding to earlier, there do tend to be subject matter experts for every system that we cover. I was talking about email, but you might also have, your patch management application. You could have your phone system, and maybe the networking team can look at some of those and help in almost all aspects. But we don't cover in detail the specifics necessarily. It may be that you have somebody on your team that is better at the networking side versus the server maintenance side, and they will be the ones to go to if you run into an issue. You don't always need that. A lot of the times you'll be responding to these things first and looking into it, but there are always resources within the team that are the most knowledgeable that you can go to. As far as how that happens, sometimes it is in person, especially if there is some physical hardware involved. But if you're, at a location and you're needing to troubleshoot a specific system and you're kind of at an end, a lot of times it's easy enough. You just call. It can be remote. You can do a team, like a Teams or a Zoom call. There's a lot of options in that. So it does vary quite a bit and can be influenced by what you're looking for, which is part of what I was covering here in the desk work versus on-site support section I've got here. A lot of it can be influenced by you. If you want to be more of a desk work, you get into where you usually work and don't have to go anywhere. You can get a lot of that if you're looking for it, or if you're the kind of person that likes to get out on the road and go in person and meet people and touch things with your hands. There's plenty of room for both, and it is dependent on a lot of what the company needs and somewhat what you're looking for. So I wrote down some of the examples of places I actually work out of. You can go and work in the office as you kind of think of the normal day-to-day, but a lot of the times you could be working, the whole day or part of it inside of a server room or a data closet where all the networking hardware goes into. If I'm at a center and I need to have some more focus time, a lot of times I'll find just any available desk they have and log in and work off of that. And there's also plenty of remote options available too. It's IT in general, and for most of it, there is at least a portion that you can do remotely. There are times when the things I do have to require on-site, such as hardware failures, replacements, things like that. But there is some variability in that. A lot of the work that I get done is mostly individual, but I kind of was saying it before, where there are SMEs for specific topics, and you can reach out to them as needed. I have a great team here that we reach out to each other every day, talk about one thing or another. So there's definitely a layer of cooperation that comes into it. As far as what you can kind of expect if you come into this, for what you're going to be working at, I work a standard 9 hours. You get 1 hour of lunch, so it's really an 8-hour working day. The start times can be adjusted depending on where you're working, but in our case, we vary it by about an hour. So between, there's 3 of us here on our networking team, and it's like 7, 8, and 9, just to give us a greater coverage so that we can be a support for the members that are here. On call, we do have on call. There could be after hours work you have to do that ahead of time that you can plan. When I'm talking about networking hardware, you can't just take that stuff off during the middle of the day or nobody would be able to work. So that would be the kind of work that has to be done after hours. And sometimes it's the on-call support that can pop up in the middle of the night. Oh, we tried to update it. It never came back up. Can you drive out there at, 10, 11 o'clock at night and get it up? That are very early in the morning. And those are the times where it's just like, okay, well, yeah, you kind of have some camaraderie and you have to help each other out by going and doing that sort of work. But the good news is that it is acceptable to recoup those hours during your normal business time. So, if I'm doing work late one night or very early, I don't necessarily have to have that time in my regular day-to-day. I could take an hour at the beginning or end of the day to make up for that work I had done after hours. That is a little bit dependent on where you're working, but in general, I would say you can fully expect that or some kind of compensation. Like I said, that we have 3 people here on our networking team, and we rotate the on-call support every week. So to make things simple, instead of changing day to day, we do it weekly. That can be different depending on whatever works within your team. I know for our core side, I believe they do a monthly rotation for theirs. So that's something you can work out, but there will be on-call required to some extent because of the criticality of the systems that are being supported. So we can talk about a little bit about, my experiences, how it is that I got here, and, kind of the things that you can do. For me, I did a networking course within a local vocational career tech center where I grew up. It was excellent. That was that was an 11th and 12th grade opportunity. And, if anybody is interested in something like that, it was definitely an informative experience to me, and enjoyable. On top of that, I did an internship into the school that career tech center I went to. They had an opportunity actually for one of the people within the course I was in to be in an internship within the IT department. So if that is an option wherever you're teaching or learning, I would highly suggest to investigate and pursue that as an opportunity. Let's see. So there's actually a local Rotary Club where I was growing up, and there was a month where I was identified as, they wanted me to go and talk about what it was that I was doing in the course to the local community. So during that Rotary Club, I did a presentation about what it is I was learning, what I was looking to do, all related to networking. And that was actually an amazing opportunity because I got to meet a lot of local business people and make connections with people who were interested in strengthening their IT department and their networking specifically. And it was at that Rotary Club meeting, I was actually offered my first real IT position outside of the school internship. So if you know of a local Rotary Club around you where you educate, I highly suggest making sure that the students, or seeking that on your own to see if you can just talk to people. I find that that's a great way to get out there, because people can provide you with opportunities, but they can only do that if they know you're looking for an opportunity. So highly recommended from my perspective. A large part of this, though, I would say, on top of all of these things I'm talking about, I did, a lot of it is about being self-driven, and so that you can direct where it is you want to go. There's a large difference between somebody who wants to do the work, just because they thought maybe it would be simple or easy, and somebody who is driven and interested. And if you get into the field, you will notice the difference between those kinds of people, and the ones you will enjoy working with are the ones who are interested in it and are constantly trying to figure out how things work, and how to improve them and how to automate things. In that realm, I wanted to get down here, and this is something I actually have repeated on many occasions. So this wasn't just made up for this, but I tell people this all the time if they ask me about, how to get into something like I'm doing. And I actually ordered these in number of priority. So the number one thing to have with this field is the correct mindset. You need to have that problem solving mindset. Every day you're going to come in, you're not going to know what's going to break. You may not be familiar with the system. Maybe somebody else 5 years ago put in that old email system and you've got to troubleshoot it. Well, you have to know how to troubleshoot it, even if you don't know how the system works. And in that realm, I would suggest relying on those SMEs around you who you can cooperate with and pull from their knowledge. Maybe they can show you how to do what you're looking for. Maybe they can show you how to improve something you already know how to do. So constant communication with the team around you is going to improve your work life that much. So that is just the number one thing, to reinforce in people's minds. This is what they want. It's a great line of work to be in. Just gotta, think about it. Is it really what you want to do, and go for it. Below that, I would put, as far as if you're looking for, okay, well, that's great. I can think about it, right? But what do I actually need? What are people looking for? The number two thing, experience. That's not something you can get right off the gate, but it will come with time. And what I'd recommend is you can go wide or you can go deep. So, pick what it is you prefer. And, you'll get some level of that with the jack of all trades, no matter where you are, but you can decide, are you going to be more broad and know how to do high level stuff? Or is there like some specific system that you're very interested in? You'd be like, I want to be the networking person. I want to do just the routing, the switching, all of that type of work. Go into that. And as you do it, you can start, at an entry level thing. You can start at a help desk and you will get so much experience. It will be easy to learn the basics of what you need as you go up that ladder. And below experience, I would say are certifications. And this is a bit specific to networking in general, but what is needed in this field. Certifications are current. They are always refreshed. So, you're never out of date if somebody knows you've been certified in some specific thing, whether it's like CompTIA or Cisco or whoever. Those only last so many years, or they will be dated. So when you approach somebody and you're like, yeah, I'm certified, I'm a CCNA or whatever, that tells them, okay, well, you know what you're doing and you've known it pretty recently. So it's not like you're dealing with these old DOS systems, which some places might want, but, in general, a lot of modern places will try to get away from those. So I would recommend certification over a college degree in terms of priority, but that is not to say that I am not recommending it. That is why it's still on this list as number 4. A degree will definitely help you get to where you need to be. The real difference is that it shows more dedication to the field, and a general understanding so that people can get a good feel for where you're at. Whereas certifications are the more current and up-to-date version of that. As far as what you can bring, you're in an interview. What are we going to be looking for here? We're going to be looking for what you've done and what role you played in it. You put in the email system, but were you standing at the server? Were you installing it? What were you doing specifically? Do you have that mindset I've been talking about to solve these problems? That is huge in it. We just want to know, you can repeat a textbook all you want, but do you have the mindset to solve a problem even if you don't know how to solve it? And then lastly here, can you communicate well at different levels? You can speak all the tech jargon you want, but if you can't talk to the executive level summary briefing, then when somebody's coming down asking, well, why is our system down and why can't anybody get on the internet? You need to be able to explain it without going into all the protocols and whatnot. So my advice, take a trajectory, be flexible. You might want to get into networking. Maybe it transforms over into the security side. Maybe you're going to security. Maybe it transforms over to the networking side. You have to be your own driver when it comes to this stuff. You have to get the certifications. I'd recommend video courses and practice tests. I'd recommend having your own home lab, whether it's physical or virtual, just so you can do something at home. You can do different things. You can build a media server. You can build a gaming server. Doesn't matter what it is, so long as you're doing it, because you will get experience that way. And, the home lab is a great way to get into the field while having fun and enjoying what it is you already like. So with that said, this is where I'll open it up and see if there's any questions, anything I can illuminate for you guys any better. I'm happy to help in any way I can.
Thank you, Carly. This is great information. I love your priority list of what to do. It was really helpful. We have not seen that. It makes complete sense. So thank you for providing that information, especially when we're working with a lot of high school students. It's a stepping stone, piece by piece. And every little bit of education, you can use it and apply it to the next level, especially with the internships. I agree that internships are very important. So thank you for highlighting that. And somebody's asking where we can access the slides and recordings. We'll be posting them on our website in the near future. So we'll let you know that. So I do have one question for you. I've asked that pretty much to everyone, but as far as when you're hiring, you talked about it a little bit, but when you're hiring somebody, what skill do you think is the most important as far as a soft skill, outside of a technical skill?
I would reinforce the problem-solving mindset and effective communication. So you don't need to know how to solve it. Every company is going to be different for what they use. I recommend, just knowing how to look things up. Google is a daily resource. The trick is you have to know how to use it. You have to know what to look up. That's what comes with the experience and the knowledge and the pursuit of figuring things out. It's okay if you don't know. You just have to know how to find out.
Yeah, thank you. And as a network engineer, it seems like you work with across the realm of different people in your organization, from IT help desk to software design, development. And what is your favorite aspect of your job and who you're working with?
Oh, what's my favorite aspect? I tell you, one of the things I enjoy the most is when you've been working on a problem, you're working with the other teams, they're specific on the application, and you know nothing about their application, but you know the basics. There's a log on the server, there's like a Windows log, you can go searching through stuff, there's an application specific one, maybe you can write a little script. But the best part, I would say, is working with those people, and then when you finally figure out what the solution is to the problem and help somebody, it comes with a great sense of satisfaction that reinforces why it is that you do what you do in this field.
That's a great answer. Thank you. Are there any other questions before we depart today? Well, we definitely appreciate all your time and all your guidance and wisdom. If anybody has any other questions, you can always email me and I can email and let Harley know. But thank you for your time, Harley. Thank you for everybody who attended today. Next week, we will be talking about system analysis and software engineering. Everybody have a wonderful week and thank you for participating again. Have a good day. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.